So in creating industrial policy, there are two requirements. One is this process of learning, which takes signals from experiments, from actions, to a nervous system ahead, which then makes some sense of them and says, okay, next, let's do this. And back goes the signal, and the feet on the ground do something, and then you again get a signal, are we moving the right way, getting success. Deng Xiaoping put it so well when he said, we've got to feel the stones underfoot in the turbulent river as we cross. And so we have recognized in the country very well that the process of industrial policy making and implementation will require the head, the policymakers, to listen to people on the ground, on the feet. And thus, as you said, Ajay, to say this time, in the case of the ESDM industry, just leave it to the people on the ground. We don't want to tell you what to do. You tell us what needs to be done and what may be assistance that you might need. So a purely private sector initiative given, allowed to tell the government what should the policy be. And we applied this principle to many other sectors of manufacturing in the last 2 years. We have 16 or 17 working groups like yours of different sectors of industry. And these had in them, with them, also the relevant government departments and ministries to facilitate their discussion and to listen in, so that we could come out with plans for growing many industries in this country, whereby we could then have a much larger manufacturing ecosystem, industries supporting each other, as well as a very large system is necessary in our country to grow, to have the 100-odd million jobs that we must create through manufacturing in the next 12 years. It can't be done by one industry. It can't be done by one manufacturing zone or even 10 manufacturing zones. It'll have to be a nationwide effort in many industries, in many parts of the country, who all working for themselves and then together can create a different situation of manufacturing in India, whereby manufacturing becomes the engine of growth for our economy, whereas for the last 20 years it's been a laggard, being pulled along by growth in services. So that's one, is a system of learning the doers and the policymakers together. The second is, it is the quality of institutions that makes the difference. Technical institutions, university institutions, production institutions, research institutions, each of them to be excellent, but that's not enough. It's the interaction between them that is perhaps sometimes even more important. You can have average or above average institutions, but the way they interact becomes so strong that that system is more effective than a system in which you got 3 or 4 world-class institutions and not sufficient high-quality collaboration amongst them, and so you don't produce the results. So let's keep this idea in mind, and I would compliment, I was hearing the introductions to IESA on the lovely video that you had, and the lady there saying that we focused on who are the stakeholders, and then, so that's where you start. There are many stakeholders, and if you talk about collaboration, go to figure out, well, who is benefiting or could benefit how, and who could be hurt and hurt how. These are all stakeholders. How shall we work together to produce results that all of us need? Keep that idea. Now another one, very importantly, and I'm coming back to economics and theories that drive economics, is that people and systems benefit by the use of things, and that's true. If you have cell phones in the country or computers in the country which people are using, it's by their use that they benefit and the economy grows. So therefore, one view is, well, why do you want to make the things? Why don't you get them from people who are already making them very well in large scale at low cost, and just make them available to your people, and thus your economy is going to grow. Okay? Whereas if you are going to do the more difficult thing of also wanting to make those things, and they may not be the cheapest or the best, then you're in fact hampering the growth of your economy. So this has been a theory, when you take pure economics, to say, well, leave the market completely open, import from wherever you can import, and that's the best way to grow an economy. And I recollect, in my own personal life, being in Malaysia in the 1970s, when they were on their path of industrialization or economic growth, and I was from Tata's, and we were part of a program in Malaysia to set up auto assembly plants in the country there. And there was already a pretty thriving market for automobiles in Malaysia. It's a rich country, a lot of natural resources, people had money. They wanted to buy the best cars, and the Mercedes and the BMWs and the Toyotas and so on. And so the Chinese, who were the dealers, most of them were Chinese, very smart business people, telling the government this whole idea. Look, people benefit by the use of it. And if you get more cars used in the country, there's more financing of cars, there's more servicing of cars, there's more economic activity. So why curb the availability of cars, the best cars, to this economy? So stop this idea of wanting people to come and manufacture cars and trucks, in my case, I was trucks, in the country. And we've had the same thing said to us in the last 20 years here also. And with that, I really want to come down to the electronic industry, your industry, because that's where actually internationally it was said, well, electronics and communications are so fundamental that no country should have any duties on the import of electronic products, make them just freely available from everywhere. So this is one sector in which it was zero. And there's a notion that it's for the goodness of mankind that it should be zero, everywhere to go this. So you can see how this philosophy has come over here. So here we are, as a consequence of that we don't make any of the electronic stuff that we need to make or would like to make, but we are a big market for it because our economy is growing and people have needs. And so we grow, and so then we come to the current account deficit is growing at the same time, but there are not enough jobs being generated. So it's a system. The cycle goes round, driven by a theory which we need to contest now. And we have begun to, quite rightly, contest it. The structure of industries, like I said, is one, you have the products, and if you have the products made available, the use of the products, the servicing of the products, the sale of the products is very good and grows. Large service economies like ours has too. Then you have components that go to make those products, and the people who assemble the products will say, please don't curb me, let me buy the components from wherever I can get. So we have in the auto industry, then the component manufacturers, and then they struggle very hard and say, no, please give us also a nurturing environment to grow the component industry so that we can support the assembly industry. And by the way, the component industry then grows a lot of jobs and exports. This has happened quite well in our auto industry. Our auto component industry produces more foreign exchange for this country than the assemblers do. In fact, it makes up for the imports paid by the assemblers. They're good guys, good entrepreneurs, technology in the auto component industry. But the auto component industry, as well as the assemblers, use machine tools. And they both make the case, because everyone does to the downstream part, allow me to import that so that I can grow. And so they say, well, let's import the machine tools from everywhere. Why curb us? So here we are in India in the situation that in 1991, when we had our economic reforms, India's machine tool industry was the same size as China's. Today, it's 1/50th the size of China's. China's economy is 2.5 times ours. China's manufacturing sector is about 6 times ours. China's machine tool industry is 50 times ours. Because in the ecosystem of technology and depth, the machine tool embodies the technology, which you then use to produce, and you go up. I come to the fourth component, which Professor Arun will talk about, R&D. R&D can be disembodied if it doesn't have near it the basic machine tool, or in your case, it may be the fab, for the wafer. And then electronic components, and you can go forward to go that. So we've recognized as policymakers that there's an ecosystem here, and all parts of this ecosystem need to be nurtured. Now, in nurturing them, and I want to lay it out right now, the conflict between the parts of the ecosystem is the challenge. As I said, in the auto assemblers will make a case that I don't want the component to be necessarily have to be bought in this country, and the component fellows along with auto assemblers will say the machine tools can come from everywhere, and you're having the problem in your industry also. So we have to gather people together. And they will be foreign companies also. We are no longer at the point to say that the discussion about what should be India's manufacturing can be held only by 100% Indian companies. The technology, the capital, the interest in India also lies with large foreign companies. And they are part of and need to be part of this discourse of shaping the future of industry. And your industry, of course, is part of that ESDM industry in India. And with this, I want to come to my final, and maybe that's the key idea, that in the country today, as we are worrying about the growth declining, people just debating numbers and things not getting done actually, which will result in better numbers, we realize that there is just too much confusion, not sufficient coordination. I mean, the metaphor of Bangalore traffic this morning was being talked about. People just take their own decisions or go this way and that way, and so the whole collection doesn't seem to be able to move in some order. Too much confusion which needs to be converted into coordination in policy making and implementation. There's too much contention between different, and their stakeholders of a larger system. It's not insufficient collaboration amongst them. And we can keep declaring intentions, whatever they may be, large growth numbers, or that Bangalore shall be within a few years a city in which you can travel from any point A to any point B within 1 hour. Good intentions, but you need implementation to realize those intentions. So we have recognized that we need to apply ourselves to the technology of converting coordination, confusion to coordination, contention to collaboration, and good planning whereby intentions can result in implementation. And this is the heart of our manufacturing as strategy so far, definitely. And Ajay Shankar was a key with us through that process, asking, well, why is it like this? He said, because of this. Then why is that like that? And we came down to this is the root cause, and there is technology. And by technology, I don't mean our digital technology only. I'm talking about decision-making technology, collaboration technology, which, as we are proposing to apply to the matters in which stakeholders have to work together, to make plans together, to be jointly responsible for the outcomes of the sector in which they are. I am confident then that if we do this, because this is the root requirement, then we will get that, which is the growth of this IESA sector to be in the next few years, and I don't want to give exact numbers, talking of 10 years maybe, to be probably one of the largest in the world. So thank you very much for inviting me here this morning, sharing thoughts.